So Bobby Kennedy Jr. is being called the greatest hypocrite to, well, open his mouth in some time. We have fierce competition from the left. I mean, Sohram Mamdani already said that were not going to be free. But before we get started, we're going to talk about him defending Ozempic or GLP-1 drugs after saying in October 2024 that Nordisk is counting on selling Ozempic to Americans because we're so stupid and so addicted to drugs. So what happened? So we're going to analyze the two clips compilated by Holden Culotta. Thank you for that. But before we get started, remember that this is the Body Language Guy channel, but I have a channel dedicated to American politics, the Power Pundit. I'm going to leave you with a link in the description. Make sure to subscribe there. I also talk about international politics, other countries' politics, but for now, I will be focusing on American politics on the Power Pundit. So go and subscribe there. Right now, we get started with the first clip and find out what he said on October 2024. That was barely weeks before the elections.
They're trying to sell this. There's a huge push to sell this to the American public, and it's now the biggest company in Europe, but they're not marketing it in Europe. They make this drug in Denmark, and in Denmark, they do not recommend it for diabetes or for obesity. They recommend dietary and behavioral changes. Mm-hmm. In our country, they're counting on selling it to Americans because we're so stupid and so addicted to drugs.
Yeah, he said basically, well, all these are facts. Ozempic is manufactured in Denmark. They have the whole IP, the whole thing is controlled from Denmark. They, of course, sell it to the United States because people want a quick fix drug for that. More than that later, I have some words to say about that. A discussion that's sparked online, by the way. And this is what happened right now. Now it's going to be cheap for Americans to get Ozempic. And how does that work?
Everybody will be able to get this drug, and it's going to change. We will lose, the American public, because of this agreement, will lose 125 million pounds by this time next year. So it is going to have dramatic effects on human health in this country.
I mean, there's no way. There's simply no way. I know that, with MAGA comes MAHA, right? Make America healthy again. That was the promise, right? That's why Bobby Kennedy decided to drop out of the presidential race, and Donald Trump said, "Okay, let's do this. I'm gonna promise you that you're gonna help fix this." But we were thinking. You remember that he was talking about all these additives, what they are putting on food. And by the way, that's we need to acknowledge that has helped. For example, getting rid of seed oils and restaurants. It's I think it has not been everywhere, but it's they're working on that. Getting rid of some additives, they're working on that. But now people are feeling betrayed. As in, wait a second. It was supposed that we were going to get rid of the Big Pharma scheme. And the scheme, I have talked about that scheme here on the Body Language Guy more than a couple times, in which it's very easy, very profitable. You have this food that is highly poisonous, that causes inflammation, that is highly addictive, that causes a ton of side effects. You eat more of that, you get obese, and then, you have high blood pressure, you have any sort of complications that need chronic treatment. So big food benefits from you getting addicted to the food, and Big Pharma profits from you, having to go on chronic drug treatments. Everybody is happy except you, who are, basically harmed by this vicious cycle. The idea, of course, and this is my main stance, is that there should be a behavioral change. You should change your behavior. You should eat healthier food. Healthier food should be affordable. One should have time because, eating healthy You know it. So many of you are watching me. You know that eating healthy is, well, it takes time. It can be, I don't know, well, depending on what you're gonna eat, is more or less. You could consider that expensive. I don't know. Maybe you can. I prefer not to talk about the costs, but it is undeniable that it has costs in terms of time. It is much healthier if you cook your own food. I think that is out of the discussion. If you make somebody cook for you, that's going to be more expensive. But if you cook for yourself, maybe it's not that expensive, but it's expensive in terms of time. So it is some energy that you have to invest in that, and a lot of dedication. The most important part, hands down, is the things that you put in your mouth. And of course, you have to do resistance training and some cardio to balance it. Sometimes you can do resistance training and at the same time, if you do it without resting that much, you can do a bit of cardio simultaneously, kind of doing both of things. You should not have to complicate that. You have to walk a lot. That helps. That is underestimated. And of course, how to say this? Maybe some people have tried all this and they haven't been able to get rid of the excess weight. My advice is always the same. Check with a nutritionist. I don't know if it's somebody who knows about nutrition. Okay, that is important because I see many comments on my ex of people that said, "Oh, I ate like less than 1,000 calories every day for months, and I went to the gym every day for months, both things at the same time, and I didn't lose weight." And of course, if you eat that little calories, you're not counting the calories. If you say that you're going to the gym every day on that low calories, you're not counting them well. Eventually you are overeating. You are not tracking the thing as you claim. Okay, this that simply doesn't work. And this is a bit more complicated because of the cortisol levels that are gonna be spiking because of that training and under eating. I am not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. You need to consult with somebody who knows about this. But going back to Ozempic and this thing, I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate here. And it is important to remember that around 9 to 10% of the United States population is morbidly obese, as in they have a huge problem. Sorry, that was pun unintended, but they have a problem. And maybe, just maybe, these drugs, for those extreme cases, could be some help to, be able to kickstart that behavior change. You still have to learn how to eat healthy. You still have to exercise, make it a habit. Make it a habit, something that you can sustain and make it a lifestyle, your lifestyle. That is essentially what you should do. But maybe, I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure that you're jumping to the comments right now, but maybe Ozempic or the other, or these other drugs like, there's also Retratutide, I don't remember the name, but it's also sold in the United States. Maybe that could help you to have a kickstart. At least help you in those first steps. And yes, of course, every single treatment, every single drug, there's no drug that doesn't have side effects. There's no drug that doesn't have risks. The idea is that, of course, being morbidly obese has risks. There's literal risks of dying, and you have risks of using Ozempic. You have to put them and say, do this risk-benefit analysis and say, hey, you know what? If I can take something that can help me get out of this state maybe then you could consider if you are well informed about what the drug can do for you, how it works, and what are the risks, and you know what's coming. I am not defending the sheer this is crazy, the sheer contradiction of Bobby Kennedy from literally 1 year to now. It is a contradiction that he cannot avoid that, but maybe he could explain this. Maybe he has made those campaigns so many times. Maybe he could explain this a bit more, much better than I have done. But I would like to know, what do you think about this in the comments? And I'm sure that you will do. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the bottle language guy. Much love and bliss.